Hi, my name is Brenda McDonough, and I am the AP World History teacher at Ocean View High School, and this is my alternative back to school night presentation. So if you want information about the course, the quickest way that you can find out everything you want to know and more is Canvas. I update it regularly, so you're going to come open Canvas. You can follow along your students. You can sign on to their account and join my course, and that will give you their grade updates as well as everything we're doing in the class. I update basically Canvas almost every day with agendas. I put what we did in class today, like here's what we did on Tuesday, September 12th in class. I also put information on how to do things, as well as whatever I think they're gonna find helpful. So most of the things that I pass out to them are also on Canvas, so if they lose it, they can reference back to that. So I highly recommend you go there. I also am available for email if you guys have any questions or concerns. So feel free to email me at bmcdonough@hbuhsd.edu, or you can call and leave a voicemail, but I'm much more quick to respond to email because I can do it anytime during the day. I don't have very much privacy in my classroom, so it takes me longer to return a phone call. We move quickly in AP World. We have to cover 10,000 years of history. Fortunately, they made a change in the course this year where 8,600 years of it is now only on the multiple choice and no longer in the essay portion of the exam. So we can spend less time on that portion and more time on 600 to present. So we can go a little bit more depth and more review at the end of the year. So once we get through the summer assignment in chapter 7, we will slow down. So we will be covering one chapter per week, reading, quizzing every week. I like to give quizzes to keep them honest on all the vocabulary that they need to keep fresh in their brain all year long. So there's 32 chapters in the book. When you look at the calendar, you can see there's things that are starred. So there's a unit exam at the end of September. There's a unit exam the week before Thanksgiving in November. Another one, finals week, so that last week in January, which every class should be offering some type of exam. Then February, in the middle of that, like in the middle of the president's breaks, I think, the president weekends. And then in the end of March, we'll have our final unit exam. And then we'll have, like I said, quizzes throughout, some tests as well. When you see double chapters, I'll consider that a test. And we finish right before spring break, so we'll be doing a lot more review this year. A date you want to set aside on your calendar is Saturday, April 21st. We will be doing a practice exam at 8 a.m. We'll sit here for 3.5 hours. It's the length of the real exam. I'll run through the entire description. I'll use the proctor script so they hear the same thing when they take it on Thursday, May 17th. So we have about 3 weeks to, get more polished up and ready for that 17th of May exam. We will continue class after the exam, but we really are prepping really hard all the way through and just doing a ton of practice before we get there. So the weekly schedule in class is me teaching skills like how to do thesis statements, how to take a multiple choice test, how to break down a question, how to write a full essay. So we kind of take a paragraph at a time, starting with just thesis statements. I basically respond to the last week's quiz, and whatever common problems I saw when I was grading, that's what I teach. So every skills lesson is unique. I don't tend to do the same thing I did last year. So I'm always kind of reacting to where the class is at. We also do lecture, which doesn't mean that I'm necessarily talking for 45 minutes. It means that we're doing something content-based to reinforce the big ideas that they need to know for the unit exams and the essays. So we put Genghis Khan on trial, for instance, and that would count as the content portion of the week, where students have to, memorize a character and know their person inside and out. So I try to keep things different every week, where they're getting into it and kind of experiencing a new thing, but also reinforcing what they need to learn. We also look at a variety of primary sources or documents from the times that we're talking about. So right now it's, art and cave paintings, stuff like that. But as we progress, we have a lot more writing. So we'll be looking at all kinds of different writing, all translated into English, luckily for us. So that's also a factor. But poetry, songs, to understand more about the societies that we're reading, and then we'll be writing based on those documents. So just practicing getting used to all these different difficult language from all these primary sources. So we do that a lot in class. And then we also in class will do an activity to reinforce the chapter. So I like to have the students teaching the class a certain aspect from the chapter, because teaching is the highest form of learning. So they take, a group of kids will take a topic and they'll have to give a presentation on it in 45 minutes. And usually it's about a 2-minute presentation tops. And I encourage everyone in their group to talk so that everyone has kind of that opportunity to teach. And so they're figuring out what they're doing and how they're doing it for those 45 minutes, and then they go. Then we quiz or test, which includes multiple choice and short answer types of things for the first part of the year. And then the second part of the year, we move to multiple choice and essays. But we work to that. We do a lot of short things all the way through to when, by the time we get there in January, they're ready to write much longer than we've been doing. Homework is 2 nights of heavier homework, the night they read the chapter and the night they do their Cornell notes. So those are the 2 days where they kind of want to plan ahead which 2 days of the week they're going to be. I recommend that those are like Saturday and Sunday, because typically there's more time. So a typical week will be Thursday, they take a test or a quiz. So Thursday night, I would expect them to go start their reading. So they start browsing and looking at pictures and reading captions and kind of getting exposed to what the chapters the next week is going to be about. And then ideally Friday, they will skim and scan the chapter, get a little bit more in depth by looking at the pictures and captions, but also reading the introduction and the summary at the end of the chapter, so they kind of know what the whole thing is about. Then the third day, ideally, they will read the whole thing from start to finish. It should take them 1 to 3 hours to read a whole chapter, depending on the length of the book or the chapter, and depending on how quick of a reader they are. So if it's taking longer than that, then that's where we need to have a conversation, or they need to do shorter readings rather than doing it all in one sitting. So these are all adjustable depending on the student. Now let's say skim and scan is Friday night, and they had a cross-country competition and then went to the football game Friday night. So there's no chance to do any AP World History. I totally understand that. So they might have to combine some of these some weeks. So they ideally carefully read on Saturday. They do their Cornell notes on Sunday. That also should take 1 to 2 hours. So if it's taking longer than that, then they're getting caught up in too many details. And so that's a conversation for you and them, or for me and them, ideally. And then basically there's flexibility in this, and that you can adjust it. So typically, then let's say we had a quiz on Thursday. That means the following week we have the quiz on Wednesday. So if they're doing this by Sunday night, they're done with their homework. And so they've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to study. So that's where there's flexibility in this, because they might have to read on Sunday and do their Cornell notes on Monday, depending on the weekend and what went down. So this is a suggested schedule. They have to do note cards. So I suggest they do note cards like on the Thursday right after the test. They sit down and just write all the definitions on flashcards, and that's part of their browsing experience. And then after they've done their Cornell notes on Monday, they'll sit down and add the significance to their note cards. So I'm constantly giving them suggestions for how to break down their homework and make it lighter for themselves. There will be occasions like the Genghis Khan trial where they have a project on top of reading the chapter and doing the Cornell notes. But I do my best to make this class fun, but also to make them feel like they can do it. So it's a college level course, but it's at a sophomore level. So if you need anything or have any other questions or suggestions, please contact me. I hope you understood everything and that I didn't talk too fast. All right, have a good night.